Hey, it's Danielle, and today I'm back with a DIY video. First, for the fabric, you want some rib fabric. I got mine at Joann Fabric Store. And make sure that if you're gonna get a light colored fabric, you want something that's like a medium weight so it's not see-through when you wear it. And then you also need an 1/8 inch elastic. I drafted my pattern using my body measurements, and I first measured above my bust, and then I measured the length I wanted my top to be. And then for the sleeves, I measured the length from my wrist to a little bit above my armpit. And then I measured the girth of my upper arm and also my forearm. This is what my body pattern looks like, and the width is my upper body measurement divided by 2 plus 1 for room, which is a mistake, and you'll see that in a little bit, and another inch for seam allowance. The length is the measurement we took plus 1/2 inch, then another 1/2 inch for the lettuce hem allowance on the top and bottom. For the sleeve, the length is the measurement we took plus 1/2 inch and another 1/2 inch for the lettuce hem allowances. And for the upper arm width, I had 8.5 inches. I divided that by 2 and then added 1 inch for seam allowance. For the forearm, I had 6 inches, represented by the leaf. I divided that by 2, which makes it 3 inches, plus 1 for seam allowance. And I also cut the sleeve pattern on fold. When you cut off the pieces, make sure that the rib fabric goes vertically, so the widest stretch of the fabric goes horizontally, and you cut 2 for each pattern piece. You should have a front and a back, and you should also have 2 sleeve pieces with the folds. And you can see that the ribbing goes vertically on the body. Next, we create the lettuce hem. With one of the sleeves, fold one of the short sides by 1/2 inch over to the wrong side, and then use a zigzag stitch, making sure that the needle catches on the edge, so it sews on the fabric, then off the fabric, and so on and so forth. And you stretch the fabric as you sew. You're gonna do that to the other side now, and you're also gonna do that to the other sleeve piece on the top and the bottom. And next, you're gonna do that onto the widest parts of the top and bottom pieces. So after I've done that, this is what they look like. For this piece specifically, I folded the hem on the wrong side, so you can see that the lettuce hem is flipping up in some areas, and it doesn't look as neat as the first piece that I put down. So make sure that you're folding it to the right side. Next, put the body pieces right sides together and sew along the sides using a straight stitch with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then fold the sleeves right sides together and sew using a straight stitch. So as you can see, I made my body piece too wide, so I sewed it an extra inch on one side, and then I tapered it to fit my body better. And to do that, you decide which side is the top, then start from the seam allowance and sew diagonally to the bottom down. So the bottom of the shirt should be shorter in width than the top part, and then you do that to the other side. I also had to alter the sleeves, and I tapered it from the elbow down to the wrist because it was a little bit too loose for my liking. Next, I took my 1/8 inch elastic, and you can use a thicker elastic because this was actually really hard to work with. And then I measured a good length above my bust and under it, and then you take each one and you sew the ends together to make it into a loop. And then I quartered them by folding them in half, then marking the folds, and then folding them in half again, lining up the marks, and then marking those folds. I also did that to the top by folding it, matching the seams, and then marking the folds. Next, you pin the elastic to the shirt by lining up the marks. and you do that for the top and the bottom. And then I pinned mine right underneath the lattice hem allowance. After that, sew using a straight stitch, and you make sure that you only stretch the elastic and not the fabric as you sew. Otherwise, it's just gonna mess up the fabric and it's gonna look funky. Finally, line up the sleeve seam and body seam and then sew it. You can either do it by hand or use a sewing machine. Just make sure that the widest part of the sleeve is at the top, and then do it to the other side and you are done. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you make it, please tag me on Instagram because I want to see, and I'll see you next time. Bye!